Okay, so extended child's pose, knees are wide, toes are together, touching, and all you're gonna do is walk your hands out so that you can melt your forehead and your chest down to the mat. And we're just gonna start, as always, just by dropping in, just starting to notice how you feel today. If you want to gently roll back and forth across your forehead, it might feel really nice while we take a moment here just to drop in and start to be present. I'm going to try to honor the body today and honor the mind. So the most important thing for today's practice is that you don't let yourself get overwhelmed. So we're here doing some self-care, and try to frame it that way in your inner dialogue. So if anything gets difficult as we move, just check in with the way that you're talking to yourself. And know that that does make a big difference. Start to deepen your breath as you bring your awareness. Just noticing how you're feeling this morning. We're going to take the time today to respect our bodies and minds. So wherever you are, just honor that. Try not to be judgmental or critical. You're just here to observe and feel what your body wants you to feel. So when you're feeling centered and grounded, you can bring your awareness to the fingertips and just press in gently to walk your hands off to the left. You might walk them completely off the mat, melt your heart and forehead back down to the earth. Just find your range of motion on that left side. So you'll get a nice stretch through the right side body, right low back. You can walk those fingertips a little bit further away from the body. Starting to check in what you're feeling on that side. Always working to deepen the breath and to calm the mind. You feel good on that side. Bring your awareness back to your fingertips, press in, and then you're going to walk your hands back through center and over to the right. Same thing on the other side. Staying nice and low, melting down on that right side wherever your threshold is. Bringing forehead and chest toward the earth. Maybe walking your fingertips out a little further. Breathe deep into that left side body, left back, left hip. Feel that compression in the right hip, just observing. And then we'll mindfully press into the fingertips and walk them back through center. And then we're just going to lift up to tabletop position or all fours. So palms will be under the shoulders. Tops of your feet are flat on the mat. And your lower abdominals are engaged to support the low back. So from here, we're just going to start with a little spinal flexion extension as always. So we're going to start by inhaling deep, drop the belly, tilt the pelvis, open up the chest, and look forward. And then syncing up with your breath on your exhale, press away from the mat, low ribs come inward, drawing in for cat pose, really arching through the upper back. Sync up with your breath, inhale, drop the belly, Open up the chest, look forward. And exhale, press away, doming through the upper back. So stay synced up with your breath and just move through that slowly a couple of times. Again, you're just bringing your awareness, noticing what you feel. Just starting to connect with your body this morning. All right, then we're going to come back to tabletop when you're ready. Take your time getting there. And this time we're going to add a little bit of variation. So as we do our cat-cow movement, we're going to start by lifting that left heel toward the ceiling, drop the belly, look up, and just finding what feels good there. On your exhale, you're going to bring that knee inward toward your nose. Same thing, arching through the upper back, pressing away from your yoga mat. And inhale, kick that heel back up. Just starting to notice what you feel in that left hip. Sync up with your breath. Moving nice and slow, nice and mindful, just observing your body. We'll do one more of these, drawing the knee all the way in, squeezing and lifting toward your nose. And then the next time you kick that left heel back up, keep it lifted. And then if you're able to, sink your weight into your left hand and right shin. You're going to lift that right hand off the mat and try to grab the outside edge of that left foot. If you're able to do that, you're going to kind of kick that heel away from the body and oppose the hand and the foot, just stretching through the quads, through the knee. Working on your balance. And slowly, mindfully, with control, release and come back to the mat. So we're going to do the same thing on the other side. We're going to challenge the balance a few times during this practice. So this is kind of just your introduction to that with tiger pose. So same thing on the other side. We're going to raise that right heel, lift it up toward the ceiling. Inhale, drop the belly, lift the gaze, open up through the chest. And then on your exhale, you're bringing knee underneath you, squeezing up and in toward the nose, arching through the upper back, exhaling completely, and sync up with your breath. Inhale, bring that heel toward the ceiling, open up through the chest. Exhale, squeezing and lifting, drawing those low ribs inward, exhaling completely, syncing up with the breath. Move at your own pace, just make it mindful. Notice where your thoughts go. Remember to check in with that inner dialogue. It's about balance today. We're just observing. Try not to get overwhelmed. Squeeze and lift that knee to nose, and next time you kick that right heel up toward the ceiling, hold it there. Sink your weight into that right hand and that left foot, left shin. And see if you can lift the left hand to grab that right foot. If you can, press it up and away from the body. Really stretching through the quads, stretching through that right glute. Feeling great, feeling strong, feeling balanced. Check your inner dialogue. And slowly, mindfully, with control, release it all back to the mat. So from tabletop, you're going to walk your hands upward and outward, sort of toward the top corners of the mat. And once again, melt your heart and forehead down to the mat. So your palms are on the mat, your forearms are on the mat. It's going to feel pretty good through the shoulders initially. And then you want to engage the lower abdominals just to protect the low back and really bring that tension, that stretch to the upper back. So you might roll up a little higher on your forehead, but that's where you should predominantly feel this opening, is in the upper back. So make sure your lower abdominals are engaged. Find a good breathing pattern. Sync up with the breath. Check in with your inner dialogue. Take a second just to feel good and be present in your body. From here, you'll gently, mindfully come back up to tabletop. And from tabletop position, once you're there, take your time. You'll be on all fours. Once you're there, we're going to cross the ankles and then use the hands to walk back to a cross-legged seat. So I'm going to turn to face you, but you can stay where you are. From this cross-legged seat, we're going to move through more joints, more ranges, or more planes of motion. But first we're going to melt down for a little forward fold. So once you're here, stack the head over heart, heart over pelvis, get nice and long through the spine, nice and open through the chest. Bring the palms together at the heart, and then we're going to slowly bring them up toward the ceiling, really reaching. Get really long through both sides of the body, reach a little higher, one hand than the other, getting long, taking up space, and then turn your palms toward me and melt down for a seated forward fold. So palms come all the way down to the floor or to the mat. You can make this as active or as passive as you want. Relax the head and neck. But if you want to keep engagement in the fingertips and walk them away from the body, you can do that. Trying to stay anchored through the sits bones, relax through the glutes and through the hips. You can also just bring your forearms to the mat and relax your head and neck a little further if that feels good. Whatever your body needs today, just take a second to honor that. Take a second just to turn inward, notice what you're feeling. Feel good about showing up today. And prioritizing self-care. When you feel good there, start by bringing your awareness to the sits bones. You're going to plant the sits bones, plant the tailbone, and slowly, like you're moving through water, roll your way up, articulating through the vertebra, one at a time. Slowly curling up until you come back to sitting. Lift the gaze, spine is stacked, head over heart, heart over pelvis. Feeling nice and long, nice and stable. From here, we're just gonna go through a little neck rotation. So if you wanna continue lifting your gaze and start by just working straight up and down, or just exploring the range of motion in the neck. Tucking the chin will give you that nice stretch through the traps, the back of the neck. Take your time here just to enjoy what you feel and notice what your body's telling you and what your body needs. If you're feeling all right there, we can check out the left to right range. Just starting to move through the planes, noticing what's going on in your body. And we'll bring it back to center, draw some circles if you're not already. Checking out what you feel, what you hear, what you notice. Find any easy organic movement that feels good for your neck. I usually spend a lot of time at the bottom of some big neck circles because it really stretches through the traps. Just notice what you feel, let your body guide you. All right, when you're ready, make those circles a little smaller and a little smaller until you bring it all the way back to center. Take a second there, close your eyes if it feels good, and feel free to do that at any point during the practice. This is for you. This is your time for self-care. Take one more deep breath, and then we're going to move into one more side body stretch. So we're going to start by bringing the right hand to the mat just next to you, fingertips pointed away. Then we're going to slowly slide that right hand further out to the right, so it's moving away from the body until we can come down to the forearm, or maybe just bent elbow for now. Making sure to keep that left hip, those left sits bones, that left glute relaxed and anchored, trying not to lift up there. So honoring that, whatever your range is fine. Even if you are only here, that's okay. We're working toward coming to the forearm. Once there, take a second just to feel centered, to get grounded. Feel stable through the hips. And when you're there, take the left hand behind the left ear. Send the fingertips all the way up and over to hover over that right hand. So from here, once again, get grounded, get stable, and then you're going to check in with what your body needs. So if it feels good to do so and you feel stable, you can swing that left hand forward in front of you, like you're sliding your palm on an invisible surface. Most of you have done this with me before. So just check out what's going on in the shoulder. Remember, staying grounded through the hips, through the sits bones, nice and relaxed through the glutes. And then maybe when you swing that arm back around, you can open the palm up toward the ceiling and look up if it feels good, if it's right for your body today. Otherwise, keep exploring with that invisible surface, or maybe you're just hovering, or maybe you're just here, and that's fine. Find what works for you. Take a few breaths just to explore. Challenging yourself, but honoring the body. Positive inner dialogue. We'll take one more breath cycle in this pose. When you're ready, you're going to slowly, gently, mindfully come back up to sitting. Before we go to the other side, take your time getting there. We're just going to pause with hands at the heart. Take your time, finish your exploration, come back to center when you're ready, pressing the palms together. All right, when you've had enough of that, we're going to do the same thing on the other side. You gently lower that left palm to the mat next to you, fingertips pointing away. Slide that hand away from the body when you're ready, coming down toward the forearm. Maybe just bent elbow, that's okay. Take your time getting set up and stable, and once you are, find your variation. So right hand behind the right ear. It's gonna hover up and over the left hand. Just gonna maybe slide across that invisible surface. Maybe if it feels good, you'll open up that palm toward the ceiling, look up. Or maybe you'll just keep working with the invisible surface. Or maybe you just feel comfortable hovering here. Find what works for you. Remember, keep your awareness in that right hip, staying anchored. And just take a couple more breaths to explore. One side might be very different from the other, that's okay. Remember, we're just observing, we're just here to feel. And when you're ready, you can bring it back through center. Take your time getting there. When you do, we're going to pause again. Prayer hands, chin is tucked. Take a couple deep breaths. And then before we change positions, I just want to go through some wrist mobility because we're going to be on the wrists a bit. So you can interlace your fingertips and find any organic movement that feels good at the wrists. Just rotate them around, explore. There's actually some really cool joint articulation there, so yeah, just explore the movement, find what feels good. I usually go through some waves, reverse those waves if you're coordinated. Maybe you're not, like me. And then with the fingers interlaced, we're gonna press away from the body, opening up through the palms, really doming through the upper back. Let the low ribs curl inward, let your head and neck relax, big stretch. And when you're ready, we'll roll forward back onto all fours. So from tabletop position, palms are under the shoulders, knees are under the hips. You're gonna curl the toes under, send the hips up high and back for downward facing dog. Feet are about hip width apart. Hands are slightly wider than shoulder width apart. Rotated externally slightly. Heels are working toward the mat, but if you're a little stiff, that's okay. You can bend one or both knees, pedal through the feet. This is your first movement in the day. It's a great way to get warmed up, especially if you're tight through the hamstrings or the hips. We'll just take a second here. And if you're in stillness in downward dog, you're just working to bring the abdomen toward the tops of the thighs, working to bring the heels toward the mat, and to relax the head and neck. All right, so from our good downward dog, we're gonna plant that right foot, kick that left leg up really high, really reaching, getting nice and long, point the toes, and then try to stay centered and grounded in that right foot, but we're gonna bend the left knee and drop that left heel toward the right shoulder. So you're just opening up through the hip from three-legged dog. Find that nice big stretch. And then we're gonna swing, well, I guess first lift your gaze to between the hands or just beyond toward the top edge of your mat. And then you're gonna swing that left knee up and under you, plant that left foot toward the top edge of the mat. Frame it with both hands and gently lower that back knee. You can let your toes unravel here. And then for starters, we're just gonna bring that left hand to the top of the left knee. If you need to drag your right palm inward a little bit, that's fine. You're just gonna twist and open up a little bit to the left. So pressing that palm into the top of the knee, supporting yourself with your right hand. Just a gentle little twist to start. All right, bring your gaze back down to the right hand. Release that left hand, frame that left foot again, and we're going to roll through that left heel, bringing your toes toward the ceiling. Try to keep your hands near the heel or drag them a little closer toward the body if you need to. And you're just straightening through that left knee and imagining bringing that left leg inward into the left hip socket. So you should start to get a nice stretch through the left hamstrings, the left calf, and if you flex your toes toward your shin, you'll get an even deeper stretch through that hamstring. So again, try to let the head and neck just relax. Your right hip should be pretty much over your right knee, no further back than that. If it's too intense, you can put a little micro bend in that left knee and just explore. Otherwise, you're relaxing the head and neck and just breathing deep into that hamstring stretch. Let your body know it's okay to relax. We're here for self-care, positive inner dialogue. Lift your gaze toward those left toes, and then we're going to start by putting a slight bend in that left knee, rolling back through that left foot. Come back to that point where the left foot is framed with both of your hands. Toes are still facing forward. And you're going to curl the right toes under, lift that back knee, and send the left foot back for plank pose. Once in plank, we're going to slowly lower to the belly, all the way down, nice and slow and with control. Stretch the feet out long, palms are under the shoulders. Gently press up for cobra. Maybe it's just a little baby cobra right now, that's fine. You're looking for that little back bend, but honoring where your body is. So find what feels good. We'll melt it back down to the mat, curl the toes under, press up to plank, and send the hips up high and back for downward facing dog. Pedal it out if it feels good, catch your breath. Remember, you're listening to your body, giving it what it needs, not necessarily what my verbal cues are telling you it needs. Then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So you'll start by planting that left foot, kicking that right leg up really high, really reaching, point the toes nice and long, and then bend that right knee, try to drop that right heel toward the left shoulder while keeping your left foot planted, left toes pointing forward, opening up through that right hip, just holding. Then we're going to squeeze and lift that right knee up and under, bring that right foot to the top edge of the mat, frame it with both hands, and then you can drop that left knee to the mat, uncurl your toes, keep the left palm planted, bring the right palm to the top of the right knee. We're just going to use that to leverage for a little twist. So a little torso twist to the right, just checking out your range, noticing what you feel. Take another deep breath. And then we'll look down at the left toes, bring that right hand back down to frame that right foot. And same thing here for the hamstring stretch on the right. We're going to lift the right toes, roll back through that right heel, extend through that right knee. Toes come toward the ceiling. Relax your head and neck. Reaching full extension in that right knee or somewhere near that, whatever works for you. Relaxing the head and neck. You can walk your fingertips forward if it feels good. Sink a little deeper into that stretch. Flex the right toes toward the right shin. Just do a little exploring. Find what feels good for you. We'll stay here for a couple of breaths. So try to find a spot that feels really juicy, that you can really enjoy and relax in. Remember that positive inner dialogue, framing yoga as self-care. All right, when you're ready, look up toward the right toes. We're going to roll back through that right heel. Bring the sole of the right foot back to the mat. Curl those left toes under, framing the right foot with both hands. Send that right leg back for plank pose. Hold there for just a second. Tell yourself how strong you are. And slowly lower to the belly. Find your cobra, so press up. Lift your gaze, open up through the chest. Try to stay relaxed through the glutes. Sink back down to the mat. One more time, press up to plank. And lift it up high and back for downward facing dog. This time from downward dog, we are going to keep the feet planted and just use your hands to balance and walk yourself up to a standing forward fold. So knees are at full extension. Again, relaxing the head and neck. If it feels good, you can clasp opposite elbows with opposite hands. Find a gentle sway back and forth. Take a couple deep breaths. Notice how you feel. When you're ready, we will walk the hands back out to your downward dog. This time we're going to plant that right foot, kick that left leg up high, get nice and long, three-legged dog. Really pointing those toes, really reaching. Bend that left knee, drop that left heel toward the right shoulder, keeping that right foot planted. And then swing that left knee up and under, bringing that left foot to the top edge of your mat. So this time, once you're there, you're going to keep that right knee lifted, plant your right palm, and then you're going to drag the left fingertips along the outside edge of the left leg, just reaching up toward the ceiling. And then swing that arm around behind you, bring it back down to frame that left foot. Send that left foot back, plank pose. Slowly lower to the belly, find your cobra. Toes are uncurled, press up, little back bend. Melt it back down to the mat. Press up to plank and downward facing dog. Right away, we're going to take it to the other side. So you can plant that left foot, kick that right leg up high, getting really long, really reaching. Point the toes, plant that left heel, bend the right knee, drop that right heel toward that left shoulder, opening up through that hip, pressing into both palms evenly. And then swing that right knee up and under, bringing that right foot to the top edge of your mat. Frame it with both hands. Keeping that back knee lifted, we're going to plant the left palm, drag the right fingertips along the outside edge of the right leg and up toward the ceiling. Big twist. Swing that arm backward and then down to frame that right foot again. Plant the palms, send it back for plank. You know what to do. Slowly lower. Press up to cobra. Melt it back down. Press up to plank. And downward facing dog. So this time in downward dog, we'll keep the hands where they are. And we're going to just imagine that there's a tight rope underneath you running down the middle of the mat. And you're going to take one step at a time, one foot in front of the other, tiny steps all the way along that tightrope, up to your hands until you get, again, to that standing forward fold. So from that forward fold, feet are planted. We're gonna root to rise. So plant the heels. Drag the fingertips along the front edge of the body, starting from the heels, working up slowly like you're moving through water. We're gonna roll all the way up to mountain pose, all the way up to standing, nice and slow, nice and mindful. Until you're opening up through the chest, rolling the shoulders back, open up the palms, close your eyes if it feels good. Breathe deep. Take one more deep breath here with your eyes closed, just to feel what you're feeling. And then without looking down, we're going to bring the feet together, really tight together. So the inside edges of your feet are touching, maybe your knees are together. We're going to start there. We're going to practice our balance a little bit here. So some tips for balance is to find a non-moving focal point and to focus as much as you can. So try to maintain that positive inner dialogue. Notice if your mind starts getting a little ripply and calm those ripples. So we'll start by coming up to the ball of the left foot. So you're just bending that left knee. You can let your hand relax on the thigh for now. Take a second just to feel balanced there. And then pretend that your knee has a marionette string attached to it. And you're just going to take the left hand, grab that string, gently pull that left knee up, see if you can balance there. If you feel good there, if you feel balanced there, our next step is to take that left hand along the front edge of the left shin and to the top of the left foot, and then slowly bring that foot behind you. If you fall out at any time, start over, it's okay. It happens, not a big deal. So what we like to do, if you can take your time, get balanced here, just holding the left foot. We're going to then open the left palm in front of you toward the ceiling. So extend that the right arm out in front of you, open that right palm toward the ceiling. And then see if you can lean forward, hanging onto that left foot, pressing up and out of the hand like we did for tiger pose. So you're leaning forward, balancing. Remember, it's okay if you fall out. It's a practice. We're just working to get better. We're not perfect. We know this. Take a second there. Feel nice and grounded, nice and stable. If you fall out, try again. And when you feel good about it, slowly, gently, mindfully, with control, bring it all back to center. All right, we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. So we'll start with that progression. Find any variation that works for you. Give yourself some patience and grace, and have a little fun. This should be a good time for you. All right, so we're gonna come up to the ball of the right foot first. Take your time, get balanced there, feel good about it. And then grab that marionette string, bring that right knee up as high as you can. Take your time, feel balanced, get stable there. And then bring the right hand to the outside edge of the right foot. Bring that right foot behind you. When you feel good there, open up that left palm toward the ceiling. Left arm is extended straight out in front of you. And we're just going to lean forward into that slowly, gently, mindfully, pressing that foot into the hand and away from the body, syncing up with the breath, challenging the balance and getting that nice quad stretch. If you fall out, get right back in. Almost fell out. And when you're ready, slowly, gently, mindfully, bring it back to center. So from here, we're going to try one more balancing pose, and then we'll be done. We'll cool down and close the practice. So we are going to try crow pose, or crow balance practice. So for that, you'll come to all fours, but you're up on the balls of your feet, kind of like a little frog. And if, as we try this is an intermediate pose, it's probably going to be challenging, that's okay. If you feel like you're just not in it and you don't want to keep trying it, feel free to take a yogi squat and just open up the feet outward, press the elbows into the inside of the knees, palms together, and you can just rest here in this balancing pose while opening up the hips. For anyone that wants to try crow practice, we're going to bring the palms just under the shoulders. Feet are just under the hips. And all you're going to do for this is lean forward with your center of balance, extending the left knees. I'm coming up on my toes. You want to try to bring your knees toward your armpits. And then keeping the palms planted, you're going to gently come forward to lift one foot off the ground and then the other. So again, it's okay if you fall out of it. Keep trying. Have a little fun with it. We're working on focus, we're working on mindfulness. Notice your inner dialogue. We'll take a few more seconds, couple more breaths to give it a shot. Or you can wait patiently in the yogic squat, whichever you prefer today. All right, nice job, guys. Good attempts. All right, so from here, we're just gonna see if you can, from the yogic squat, just sink back onto your sits bones and send the legs out in front of you without using your hands. And believe it or not, in terms of overall health, the amount of limbs that you take or contact points you take to get down and get up off the ground is usually a direct indicator of your overall health. So balance is important, one of the many aspects of fitness, and yoga is a fun way to test it. Anyway, from here we're going to do just a seated forward fold to start our cool down. So send your legs out long. If you want to focus more on the hamstrings, keep the knees fully extended. If you want to focus more on low back relief, you can bend the knees slightly. Either way, we're going to send the hands up and overhead. One more time, getting really long through the torso. And then we're going to melt forward. Imagine sending your hands beyond your feet. Melting down, relaxing the head and neck. Shake your hair out if it feels good. Close your eyes if it feels good. You're just going to turn inward here. Sync up with your breath once again. Notice how you feel. Remember your intention for this practice and try to bring that intention throughout your day. So we're thinking about balance, we're thinking about good mental health, thinking about self-care. We're thinking about all around holistic fitness. Not just your gym time, not just your eating habits, but all of it. Take a couple more deep breaths here, just in your inner sanctuary. Just to observe, just to give yourself this time. When you feel ready, at your own pace, take your time getting there. You'll plant the sits bones and then the tailbone. Drag the fingertips along the front edge of your body to come slowly up to sitting, excuse me. From here, we're going to bring the hands together in front of you, and we're going to roll one vertebra at a time, all the way back to lying. Slow as you can go. Open up the palms left to right. Close your eyes if it feels good. Just coming to corpse pose. Taking another minute for mindfulness here, so I encourage you just to relax. Let the endorphins of your practice settle in. Give yourself this time for a few more quality breaths. Just a little quiet time to feel good about what you did here today. You recognize that for some, yoga is a spiritual practice, but for all of us, yoga is a community. And I thank you so much for being here with me, letting me guide you in this practice today. Hope you carry your intentions through your whole day, and I hope to see you all again soon. Namaste.